As you all know, workflows are used to automate the process, guys. Workflows are used to automate the process. Okay. Getting my point? Well, in the workflow, we have seen the workflow activities. We'll go to the workflow editor. We'll go to the workflow editor. In the workflow editor, this is the workflow that we are actually designing. We have seen if activity. If activity is used to check the conditions. We have seen approval action activity. So approval action activity is used to set the approval status. Approval status. And we have approval user, approval group, approval manual approval, and approval coordinator activity. Okay. And again, this approval action activity is used to set the approval status. And you have actually timer activity. Timer activity will wait for certain period of time. And we have run script activity. In the run script activity, you can write the server side script. You can actually execute the server side script in the run script activity, guys. If you want to write any script in the workflow, you have to use run script activity. You can actually write the script here. Okay. Well, here, and once once the user become inactive, the workflow will move forward. It will actually send out an email. It will complete the requested item. It will end the workflow. Yesterday, I think Neelima has asked a question. So what is the relation between user and this workflow? So here, guys, if you go to the users, in the user table, we have created a field called requested item field, guys. Okay, this is the requested item field. This field is created by ServiceNow developer, U underscore. If the field name is starting with U underscore, that is created by ServiceNow developer. So here I have created a field on the user table. In that user table, I am actually populating the requested item number, guys. So you can see here, we are populating the requested item number as current requested item number. Okay. Well, once the requested item is, once the user is actually inactivated, then the event will be fired from the business tool. Once the event is fired, this notification will be sent and workflow will be completed. We'll give a try, guys. We'll give a try. We go to the maintain items. I'm clicking on right here. Okay. I'm going to submit this catalog item. Once the catalog item is submitted, request will be created. Under the request item will be created. On this requested item, you can see workflow is actually triggered. Once all of the approvals are provided, it will actually create a user record in the user table. That is actually a Rahim user. So it will wait for 1 minute, guys. Because in the workflow, we have mentioned here as it has to wait for 1 minute. Timer activity will actually wait for 1 minute. Once 1 minute is completed, okay, once 1 minute is completed, it will actually create the user account. We'll have to wait for 1 minute, guys. So once 1 minute is completed, this record will be deleted. It was created 23 hours ago, right? This record will be deleted and new record will be created. Okay. So then workflow will actually wait for, the workflow will wait for 1 minute. Once 1 minute is completed, it will actually, okay. Once 1 minute is completed, it will actually create the user account. You remove that activity, right? So we remove that activity. I think we have to submit it again. Okay. Now we will see the workflow. There exactly the workflow is actually. Now the workflow would have created the user account. We'll go to the users. We'll see user account is created just now. Okay. Now the workflow is actually waiting here at the wait for workflow event. This workflow is actually waiting for the wait event to be fired, guys. This event we are actually firing from the business rule on the user table. Okay. So if you open the user account here, so in this user account request item number is populated here. Okay, requested item number is populated here. So to that requested item, what are all the workflows that are attached? Okay, to that requested item, what are all the workflows that are attached? Those workflows I am actually getting it here, guys, in the script. See, when the user changes to false, active changes to false, and name is Rahim Sheikh. And here, we are actually querying the requested item table with the current requested item. Current requested item is actually this one. So to this requested item, how many workflows are attached? Those workflows I am actually getting it here. So those workflows context ID, I am taking it here. I am actually firing the user.workflow.inactive. Okay. So once the user become inactive, let us say I am actually inactivating Rahim user account. So once it is inactivated, the event will be fired, guys. From this business rule, the event will be fired. Once the event is fired, the workflow will move forward. You can see if you refresh this one, the workflow will move forward now. The workflow has moved forward now. So what I did here, in the user table, I have created a field called requested item table, requested item field. In that field, I am populating the requested item number. When you are actually making it as closed, this business rule is triggering. In the business rule, I am taking the requested item number. With that requested item, what are all the workflows that are attached? I am actually getting those requested items, those workflows context, those using those workflow context system ID, I am actually firing the event here, guys. Okay. So that is how you will actually fire the event. That is how you will fire the event. So finally, you will use this line, guys, to fire the workflow event. Here, you have to pass the workflow context ID. It is not a workflow system ID. It is workflow context ID, guys. Okay. You have to pass workflow context ID. Yesterday, in our previous session, we were not able to get the context ID properly. That was the mistake. Today we are able to get the context ID properly. How are we able to get the context ID properly? From the requested item. With that requested item, how many workflows are attached? Workflow contexts are attached. That context system IDs, I am taking it here, guys. Okay. So that is how the wait for workflow event will work. Okay. That is fine. Now again, we'll go to the workflow. Okay. So in the workflow, when it comes to the notification activity we already discussed. If you want to send an email from workflow, you can use notification activity. Guys, when you use notification activity, you have to compose the email. Compose the email means you have to set the subject email, you have to write the email, you have to write the subject, you have to write the body. So you have to compose the email from zero. Okay. So instead of using um, email, instead of using notification activity, I can also use another activity called create event activity. Create event activity. So this create event activity is like firing the event. So how do you fire the event? gs.event queue, event name, object name, event param1, event param2. So normally you will write a event queue line, right? But in the workflow, you don't use event queue line. You can just use, let us keep it as it is. We'll drag a create event activity. Create event activity is also used to send the emails. Okay. Send email notification. Okay. You can see event name you have to select. Event name. So I am selecting the event name here. Okay. Event param1. Param1 means event param1. Param2 means event param2. Okay. Okay. So you will mention event param1. You will mention event param2 here. Event param1, event param2. Normally, how do you fire the event? How do you send the email using events? gs dot event queue, event queue, event name, object name, param1, comma, param2. So this line is used to fire the event, right? But in the workflow, you don't use this line. You will just use create event activity. This activity will actually fire the event, guys. This activity will fire the event. Once the event is fired, it will actually send the email notification. Okay. Getting my point? So notification activity, you have to compose the email from scratch. This create event activity, you have to create the event first. That event, you have to map it with the system notification. That event, you have to fire it from the create event activity. So this activity is nothing but this line of script, guys. Instead of this activity, okay. You can also use run script activity here again. You can also use run script activity here. So in the run script activity, you can write this line. Both are same. Both are same. Using create event activity or using run script activity and firing the event using gs.event queue, both are same, guys. Okay. So notification activity you can use. You can use create event activity, or you can use run script and gs.event queue line. These three are used to send the email notification from the workflow, guys. Okay. Till this point, everybody is clear, right? Okay. So, guys, we have discussed the important activities that are there in the workflows, guys. Okay. Clear, right? Okay. Now we will discuss about one more activity called uh, branch activity. We have discussed. Branch activity we have discussed. Mm. Okay, we will use a switch activity. Switch activity is used for choice type of fields, guys. Choice type of fields. So in the workflow, in the catalog item, we have choice type of field, right? Storage, RAM, color. These are actually choice type of variables, right? Okay. Choice selection. Choice selection. Here, what I am doing is I am using color. Color for iPhone 16 Pro Max. iPhone 16 Pro Max. Okay. So as soon as I create this one, so the choices are white, gold, white, black, gold choices are automatically created. These conditions are automatically created, guys. If it is white, if it is white, I want to go this path. If it is gold, I want to go in a different path. If it is black, I want to go it in a different path. Then you have to use switch activity here. See, when you are creating the catalog form, when you are submitting the catalog form, if you have selected white color, it should go to this path. If you have selected black color, it should go to this path. If you have selected gold, it should go to this path. So here, if you go to the catalog item, if you go to the catalog item, you can see choices here. White, black, gold. These choices are automatically created in the workflow, guys. These choices are automatically created in the workflow. These are the choices, white, black, gold. Okay. Clear, right? Okay. Guys, now we understand that we have actually the workflow activities. In the workflow activities, we can use current object. Current object refers to, here in this case, requested item, because we have created this workflow on the requested item table. Current dot variable means requested item variable values. Task means you can use the task object in the create task, catalog task activity. Okay, fine. Now we will understand scratchpad object, workflow scratchpad. Now we will understand about workflow scratchpad. Guys, this workflow scratchpad is used to carry values from one activity to another activity. Okay. Workflow scratchpad is used to carry values from one activity to another activity. Okay. Suppose if I have to carry value from this activity to this activity. Okay, this activity to this activity, this activity to this activity. So likewise, if you want to carry a value from one activity to another activity, you can use workflow.scratchpad.variable. So here in the run script, guys, if you see what we have done here, okay, we have kept Rahim, okay, Rahim Sheikh, Rahim@gmail.com, true, requested item. These values we have kept here, right? Okay. Now what I do is that I'm going to remove this one. Okay. Now what I am doing is in this activity. So in the if activity, I am also going to remove this one also, guys. Directly mapping this one. Okay. So in this activity, what I am doing is I am defining workflow scratchpad variables here. I am defining workflow scratchpad variables. Okay. Workflow dot scratchpad dot. Okay. F name. F name is equal to Rahim. Okay. L name. Okay. Username. Mail. So Rahim at gmail.com. These values I am storing in this scratchpad variable. So workflow dot scratchpad dot. This is variable name, guys. This variable name can be any name. You can define any name here. Workflow dot scratchpad dot. This is variable name. Variable name can be any name. Okay. So in this scratchpad variable, I am storing the values here. Rahim, Sheikh, Rahim and Rahim at gmail.com. These values I stored here in this scratchpad variable. So now I am going to the run script activity here. In the run script activity, okay, in place of Rahim, I will use workflow.scratchpad variable name. In place of Sheikh, I am going to use workflow.scratchpad name. L name means the storing last name. Okay. Here, workflow.scratchpad.mail. Username. Okay. Clear, right? Fine. So we are storing the values in the scratchpad variable here in this activity. We are passing those values from this activity to this activity. We are passing those values from this activity to this activity. Right? Okay. So we are storing these values in the scratchpad variable. So using this scratchpad object, we are actually carrying the values from this activity to that activity. Okay. We will try now. We will understand now. Okay. You can see here where exactly the workflow is waiting here. Now the workflow is actually waiting for the approval part. approval part, right? So once I provided all these approvals, you can see user account is created. We will see Rahim user account is created or not. Rahim user account is created. Rahim@gmail.com. So these values, where did we store? We stored these values in this activity, but those values are actually carried till here using workflow.scratchpad.variable name. Guys, if you want to carry a value from one activity to another activity, you can use workflow.scratchpad.variable name. You can use workflow.scratchpad.variable name to carry value from one activity to another activity. Understand? Okay. So, guys, as you all know, workflows are actually used to automate the process. It is a server-side script. Server-side script. Okay. We can use workflows to automate the process. In the workflow, we have actually multiple activities. You can create workflows on the catalog items. You can create the workflows on any table. But workflow will be triggered only once. Second time, it won't be triggered. Every time when the workflow is triggered to that particular record, context ID will be created. Let us say INC 000013. To that particular record, one context ID will be created. That context is actually this one, guys. This is called workflow context. This is called workflow context. Okay. This context ID is actually assigned to this particular requested item. To this requested item, 10044 requested item, this context ID is attached. Likewise, every record has one context ID attached. Got it right? Fine. Now what I'm trying to tell you is you can call another workflow in this workflow, guys. So we are able to use the activities here, right? Now I am going to call another workflow within this workflow. Okay. I am going to call contract approval workflow in this workflow, guys. Getting my point? I am calling a workflow within this workflow. Where is this? We have to search. Where is it? Here you go. Okay. You are calling another workflow in this workflow, guys. Okay. Getting my point? Now we understand that we can pass value from one workflow to, we can pass value from one activity to another activity is what we understand so far. Now what I'm trying to tell you is you can pass value from one activity to another activity. You can pass values from one activity to another activity. You can pass value from one workflow to another workflow. Okay. How can you pass value from one workflow to another workflow? First of all, this is the approval that we create. This is the workflow, right? Contract approval. So in this workflow, there should be inputs that we have to create, guys. Inputs. You have to just click on checkout here. You will be able to see edit inputs here. So these are actually called workflow fields. These are actually workflow fields, guys. Inputs are nothing but workflow fields. So I'm creating first name, last name, guys. Okay. So this is a string type of field in the string type of workflow field. This is workflow field, guys. First name, last name. And I am going to create another variable. Mhm. So I have created two inputs here in the child workflow, guys. I have created two inputs in the child workflow, right? Okay. So now you go here and you open this workflow here. You will be able to see those two inputs here. First name, last name. So here we have stored in the workflow, in the scratchpad variable, first name we have stored. Okay. In the first name field, we have stored Rahim, right? Okay. This one, I am going to pass it here, guys. Workflow dot scratchpad dot F name. Workflow dot scratchpad dot L name. Okay. I am passing first name Rahim here, last name Sheikh here. Okay. So what I have done here, guys, first of all, you have to create inputs in the child workflow. Those inputs are actually, those inputs you can see here. First name, last name. So in this first name, I am passing workflow.scratchpad.f name. In this last name, I am passing workflow.scratchpad.l name. This workflow.scratchpad.f name and l name I have defined here in this activity, guys. Okay. So I'm able to carry value from this activity to this activity, right? Okay. Clear. Fine. Now you go to the child workflow. In the child workflow, you have created two inputs. One is actually first name, another one is last name. So first name Rahim you are actually getting here. Last name you are getting Sheikh here. If you want to access those values in this workflow, okay. If you want to access those values in this workflow, you have to use workflow.inputs.variable name. Okay. Let me just click on advanced here. gs.log workflow.inputs.u underscore first name. Input means field name, guys. Input means field name. Workflow dot inputs means last name. So here you will get a Rahim name. Here you will get it as Sheikh. Okay. Submit this one. So you have created two inputs here. Those two inputs you are able to see here. In those two inputs, what you are passing, Rahim name and Sheikh name. Those Rahim name, Sheikh name you want to access here means you have to use workflow.inputs.input name. So guys, here you can see, click on edit inputs here. You're able to see two inputs. One is actually label. We'll have to use names, guys. You can edit inputs here. You will be able to see name, you underscore first name, you underscore last name. These are the input names. So here what you are doing, workflow dot inputs dot variable name. So that whatever the value that you are passing Rahim, that you will get it here in this workflow. So that means here you will finally get it output as Rahim. So, okay. So here you will get the output as Sheikh. Okay. Clear, right? Hope everybody is clear. That is how you will pass the values from parent workflow to child workflow, guys. This contract approval is actually a child workflow. In this workflow, you have to create inputs. Those inputs you will be able to see here. In these inputs, I am actually passing the values using workflow.scratchpad.variable name. Okay, those values, if you want to access in the child workflow script, you have to use workflow.inputs.variable name. Workflow.inputs.variable name. So that is actually workflow scratchpad. This is actually workflow input, guys. Okay. Okay. Now we understand how do we get the value from parent workflow to child workflow. Now we will understand how to pass the value from child workflow to parent workflow. If you want to pass a value from child workflow to parent workflow, you have to use an activity called return value. I'm going to create what is it telling? Okay. You have to use an activity called return value activity. Okay. Using this return value activity, you can pass value from child workflow to parent workflow. So I am passing Uday Gadiparthi, guys. I am passing Uday Gadiparthi value. Okay. So you are passing value from this particular child workflow to parent workflow using this return value activity. Okay. So this Uday Gadiparthi value, you will get it here in the map return value to. Map return value to. What I am doing is I am going to use workflow dot scratchpad dot my name. So in this my name variable, I am storing Uday Gadiparthi value, guys. In this workflow.scratchpad.my name variable, I am storing Uday Gadiparthi name. That is how you will actually pass a value from parent workflow to child workflow to parent workflow. Okay. Okay. Here comes the picture, guys. Here comes the picture. Well, if you want to trigger the workflow using scripting, in which case we have to trigger the workflow using scripting, I'll tell you. Okay. If you want to trigger the workflow using scripting, so you have a workflow API in ServiceNow, guys. Okay. Workflow API. Okay. Using this workflow API, you can start the workflow using scripting. Getting my point? You can start the workflow using scripting. You can actually you can see here this broadcast event. We have already used this one. Broadcast event. To fire the workflow event, we have used broadcast event. So string context ID. You have to use context ID. In the beginning, we have used workflow ID, workflow system ID. In place of that, we have to use context ID. String event name. We have to provide the event name here. So this line is used to fire the workflow event. Okay. You can see here where WF is equal to new workflow get running flow current while WF dot Next, this line we have used. Do you remember? So in this business rule, there is the business rule. Think in this business rule, we have used this line. Whatever the line of script that you are seeing here, same line of script we have used here in this script to fire the workflow event. Cancel the workflow. If you want to cancel the workflow. Let us say here, guys, in the requested item, I have to create a button here called cancel button. I have to show a button here called cancel button. Whenever I click on cancel, the requested item should be cancelled. In the back end, workflow also should be cancelled. To cancel the workflow, you have to use cancel method in the workflow, guys. You have to use this line of script here. New workflow.cancel current. So if you use this line of script, I'm going to create a button in the workflow requested item. Okay. Whatever the workflows that are running on the requested item will be cancelled if you cancel the requested item. If you cancel the requested item, so whenever you click on the cancel button, okay, whenever you click on the cancel button, the requested item will be cancelled, guys. We have to write that logic here. In this requested item, what are all the workflows that are attached, right? All those workflows will be cancelled, guys, if you click on this button. So you can cancel the workflow. You can actually see, guys, if you use this line of script, cancel all the workflows. Suppose in the requested item, let us say you have 3 workflows attached. 3 workflows will be cancelled if you use this line. Okay. If you don't want to cancel all the 3, if you want to cancel only one, you can use cancel context. Cancels this running context by broadcasting a cancel event to activities in the workflow context. You can see here, if a workflow has started from this item cancelled, where the current is a task record from the workflow context. Okay, if you want to cancel one context, you can actually cancel one context. If you want to cancel all contexts, you can use cancel directly. Okay, so if you want to delete the context, you can see delete workflow. So delete all the workflows on the record. So workflow means not workflow record, guys. Workflow contexts. You can see where current is a task record with the workflow context. So it will delete it. Deleting means, guys, record will not be appearing in the context table. Record will not be appearing in the context table. It will delete the workflow context. So fire event. This is also used to fire the workflow event, guys. Okay, fire is a named event of running workflow on the input record. Okay, used in activities, approval coordinator, timer, log, and some other. Okay, fires the named event of a running workflow on the input record. So this line is used to fire the event, guys. Okay, where current is a task record with the workflow context. This is used to fire the event. This is also used to fire the event. Okay. Get contexts. On the requested item, how many workflow contexts are there? All the workflow contexts, you can get it using get contexts. Okay, in the requested item, how many contexts are there? Those contexts, you can get it using get contexts, guys. This is broadcast event. We have seen this one already. So if you want to restart the workflow, you can actually use restart workflow method. Okay. Well, guys, it depends on guys. It depends on the requirement. If the requirements demands, uh, a particular activity, you have to use that activity. It depends. So it is good to have knowledge on each and every activity. It is good to have knowledge on every aspect. Okay. So you can start the workflow using script. You can use start flow to start the workflow using script, guys. Okay. So you can use this workflow API to start the workflow using scripting, to restart the workflow using scripting, to cancel the workflows on the record, to delete the workflow context on the records, to get the workflow context names on the record. You can use this workflow API, guys. You can use this workflow API. Okay. So you can use this one, where W is equal to new workflow dot start flow, the workflow system ID or workflow name, workflow system ID you have to provide here, the operation, insert or update, and you can pass any value here. You can actually start the workflow using this line. Restart flow. It is used to restart the workflow. Restart workflow. You can use this line to restart the workflow. Okay. You can use this line to cancel the workflow. Clear, right? Yes, these APIs can be used in any server-side script. Clear, right? That is how the workflows will work, guys. That is how the workflows will work in ServiceNow. So in tomorrow's session, we are going to start discussing about flow designers. We are going to start discussing about flow designers. Okay.